Welcome back to Berm Peak. I'm Seth, and today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different, kind of the same. We're gonna be talking about inexpensive bike products that are great. So you don't spend a lot of money, but you get a really good value. Now, there are thousands of items like this, and I can't include them all. And so I'm gonna limit it to a few items that we use here all the time or that I have personal experience with. And I'm gonna start out with a set of hydraulic brakes. So these are the Zoom brakes on the Kent-Travail. These were under $70. They're hydraulic. They transformed the Kent-Travail. They were amazing, amazing value. I would buy them again. In all the times I've used them really hard and they performed admirably. They still feel amazing, but they're not even close to the best value in brakes. That honor would go to the Shimano MT200s and 201s. Front and rear levers and calipers, brake pads filled up with fluid, $55 delivered, and they're made by Shimano. Not only are they made by Shimano, but they're some of the best Shimano brakes ever made in terms of reliability. I will, on the regular, meet people who have like 4-year-old entry-level bikes that these come on, and they have not done one single thing to them. They have not bled them once. They still work fine. These are simple, reliable, powerful, and they're cheap. So why did I use the Zoom brakes on the Kent-Travail? Why didn't I buy these? Well, during the pandemic, they cost like 3 times as much for some reason when you could get them. Yeah, $129 to $159, that's like pandemic prices right there. But recently I placed an order on Amazon. It looked weird, it looked suspect. $55, how does it get any better than that? But yeah, they arrived looking brand new, working fine. This is the best upgrade that you could give a bike that doesn't have hydraulic disc brakes. So your stem, it's an important part of your bike, especially if you're a really heavy rider or you ride really hard. That's kind of important, right? If your stem breaks or the little bolts snap on your stem, your handlebars are gonna break loose and you're gonna smash your face into something really hard and sharp. And so, what does a good stem cost? $90, $130? Well, how about 30 to 50 bucks? $39.95. Truvativ stems, which are made by SRAM, are in the $30 to $50 range, and they're plenty strong. They're not like the lightest, highest performance stems in the world, but I have one over here on a really high-end bike, and it's like a $40 stem. It's not even that heavy. And while you can absolutely find $13 stems on Amazon, if you are a full-grown man that is riding over rocks and hitting jumps, you should probably not have that on your bike. $8. Your life is worth $8. It's extraordinary. Maybe a 90-pound kid that's riding cross-country, fine. I have one on the tall bike, but if you're doing any kind of real hard mountain biking, you don't want a $13 stem on your bike, but you also might not want to spend 90 bucks or 150 bucks for a chunk of aluminum with 4 bolts in it. So I use these on a lot of flip bikes because they're the cheapest, but there are lighter models that are a little bit more. So yeah, really reputable, trustworthy option for a cheap stem. Other companies know they can get more for their stems, but yeah, these remain a really good value. So while I have this bike up here, there's another product on it, PNW dropper post. Now PNW makes a lot of different dropper posts. They're all of good value. In fact, anytime you see a review or a video on dropper posts, there's somebody in the comments that's like, love my PNW dropper post, was only 200 bucks. They have models down to $99. And not only is it a good dropper post, but it's made by a real bike company, and by that I mean it's staffed by mountain bikers. Now, their philosophy is bring your own lever, and so most of these come without a lever. You can purchase it separately. Their cheapest lever is $30, but you can get them on Amazon for like $13, or maybe you're replacing your old dropper post and you already have a lever. They're also cool because you can customize them, and so this spot over here has a little band that you can insert to color match your bike. They do the same thing with the levers. Now, there are other dropper posts out there of great value. KindShock, KS, they have some really good dropper posts for cheap, but I think PNW really stands out because they have a wide range of posts. They're all inexpensive and they're cool. You can color match them. They're like fun, interesting posts. And so I think if you're looking to upgrade and get your first dropper post, PNW is kind of a no-brainer. So now we have the Kent Travail back up on the stand, and it's here because I want to talk about 3 things that are on this bike. The first being the crankset. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times already. It's a crankset, a bottom bracket, and a single speed machined chain ring, all for $55. And it's not bad. It's better than a lot of stuff that comes on these bikes. In fact, the bottom bracket on the Kent Travail failed on our first ride. I do hear a little bit of creaking, but otherwise, ooh, what's that? And those cranks were nothing to write home about. Neither was the chain ring. It was like stamped steel. For $55, we upgraded all of that, and it's been performing flawlessly since. But this isn't the only bike I've put it on. We also put it on Heather's bike. We built this on Flip Bike almost a year ago, and it's still performing flawlessly, same exact crankset. And one of the things that makes this such a good value is it has an externally mounted BSA bottom bracket, which makes the stance a little bit wider. And so the design is stronger. This has a nice big spline. It's got pinch bolts. It's not like made by a real bike company. Like, they probably have this under like 20 different names on Amazon and Alibaba, but it happens to be pretty good for the money. And so I would recommend it if you're trying to fix up an old bike. If it doesn't work out, wherever you got it from will probably take it back and give you another one just like it. So another product that's on the Kent Travail, Microshift drivetrains. They make derailleurs, shifters, cassettes, and they're good. Really, really good for the money. The derailleur that came on the Kent Travail was really basic, no clutch or anything like that, and it performed just fine. But when we upgraded to the clutched version, it was flawless. I mean, no fuss whatsoever. You set it up and it just shifts perfectly. You bang it around, still shifts really good, not finicky, nice light touch, and the clutch worked really well. It's got really good chain retention. Now you can buy that derailleur, a 9-speed cassette, and the shifter for $130. Now, if you need to buy those 3 things to upgrade a bike to a one-buy, that is an astonishing value, especially considering the performance. It's up there. Now, it's true that you can get SRAM NX and then you're gonna have a 12-speed drivetrain, but you're not necessarily gonna have more range, and you're gonna spend more than double that to piece one of those together. And so if you have a really basic entry-level bike, maybe with a 3-buy, you're looking to upgrade the drivetrain, a Microshift Advent with a clutch is just, there's no other value that even comes close. And so I highly recommend it. Now, one part that we did not swap out on the Kent Travail, the original tires. These CST Patrols have held up. They have not gone flat. They have not gotten torn open. And although they're kind of smooth, fast-rolling cross-country tires, they've performed pretty admirably. But CST makes a lot of really good tires, and they're cheap. This is the CST Rockhawk. It is tubeless ready. The mold looks amazing. The compound's even pretty good. You're not gonna find these tires outside of the $30 to $50 range. And that's insane because many of us are used to spending $90 or more on tires. Not only that, but they seem to have a lot of really good options with really good tread patterns. For instance, does the tread pattern on the BFT look familiar to you? Look at these. This is everything you have probably come to expect from a really good tire. Now, it is a little bit lighter duty, but the pricing is unbelievable. I think that Kent made a really good decision putting them on the Travail, because we would have not ever been able to do anything we did with this bike with one of those cheap tires that you see on most Walmart bikes. So if you've been mountain biking for any amount of time, there is a good chance that you own some kind of an action camera, probably a GoPro. Now, the new GoPro Hero 11 Black is an amazing camera, but it costs $650. But this is a Hero 8. It's better in a lot of ways, and you can find them brand new for $250. Now, of course, better is subjective. Of course, the Hero 11 is a more capable camera with more power, but this will shoot in 4K also. It has really good stabilization, and it's way smaller. In fact, it's one of the smallest modern GoPros ever made, and so it's really easy to mount on, let's say, your helmet. Now, every GoPro before it sat inside like kind of a case. This one is the first model with the built-in fingers on the bottom, and so makes it more compact, makes it smaller. Also, the next GoPro after this was the Hero 9, and then it went up in size in every single direction. It also has a lot less of that compact, convenient charm that GoPros are known for, and I think the Hero 8 exemplifies this the best. Now, you can see from this footage that it looks incredible. In fact, a lot of Alexander's videos are still shot on the Hero 7 to this day, and this is an upgrade even from that. And so the new ones are really, really powerful, but you can't argue with the value of this generation of GoPro. And so if you're looking for a new one and you don't need all the fancy features, a Hero 8 is really good for some helmet-mounted point of view video. So there you have it, some products that are of a really, really good value. They're not necessarily my favorite products. Admittedly, a lot of the stuff I like isn't necessarily a good value, but if you wanna make extra sure that your money is going to something that's gonna pay you back, you want something of good value, and so that's why I made a dedicated video to listing those products. Of course, these are my experiences. There's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that I haven't mentioned, and so chime in below. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.